Hey everybody, so I'm still working on kind of setting up all the accessories and where to stash them. So this is the backside corner, and it has the follow rest and steady rest temporarily mounted. It's almost done. Just like the name of this channel, everything's a project. So I find a spot and capitalize on it, and everything turns into quite the involved project. And you have to tear everything apart to be able to put it back together. So let's go around to the front side. Here's the lathe. So still everything's going great with it. It's very smooth. One thing that is bugging me, the chuck seems to be pretty good. It is an Asian import. The oil cup is not recessed. So anytime you put a piece of work up against this, it's going to cant it. So I've been using a parallel for the moment to stand off. I tried to see if it needed to just be seated in more. It doesn't. That's a pretty big flaw. I do have the spider thing. I haven't even tried that yet. So this is the Edge technology. I mean, I call it a spider, but they call the piece that goes inside a spider. But essentially it's parallels on a holder. And they have them all different thicknesses. So this would be if you're doing like a disc or something, need to stand it off. But you can do them pretty thin. But still, you're negating the full use of the chuck. So I don't know, might have to get in there and counterbore that a touch more. Okay, so you saw this. So this is the arm from the taper attachment. I took it off because if you move the carriage all the way back, it'll go off the end of the lathe, and you could choke up this, but then you're constantly adjusting it. So anyways, that's a 4-inch round block, solid block, so it's got a hole there for that. Then these two bolts are to mount the follow rest to the front of the carriage. So I made a parking spot for those, and they're 30 degrees apart from each other. I didn't show all the machine work on this because it was kind of just winging it, but there was kind of a good amount of things to include. Okay, so this is going to get tricky, so I just got to let you hang on the... Oops, what just happened? Okay, so there's a stud that goes all the way through here, and it gets a nut. So the sleeve that's on here isn't welded on yet. It'll get welded on, so it's loose, so everything might want to fall. Okay, so that's the follow rest. This is the steady. Some high quality filming right here, but I'm not going through all that trouble. So anyways, this gets welded on here, and it'll have a groove added for that will catch the upper bearing and just keep it located. So that comes off, well, comes off right now. It'll get welded in a little while. And then the stud is down through the center of the block. You can see I cut that like a shoulder so that it locates that 4-inch tube. Then what I did was, these are existing holes that hold the backsplash. I just switched them to from 8mm to 3/8, so I could use these studs. Okay, let's go over to the mill now. All this mess Had it all cleaned up not too long ago again. I did a little seminar with the local metal workers group on a basic mill, and that worked out good because I actually reminded myself of one of the procedures I used on this block. Okay, so on the lathe I did the round work, I did the facing, it cuts really nice, I used the coolant, cuts pretty solid. So then, let's see, so then this was the first thing. So I put it in here, I cut this, and that's to clear the bracket. And then I corner rounded that to clear the inside radius of the bracket. That's another thing to go over. I meant to leave that out. Okay, so let's do a quick tangent with that. So corner rounding, and I'll have to do a live demo. But when you want to do corner rounding, what you do is on your workpiece, you have the corner rounder raised so you're just touching the bottom of the cutter, and you have your head in neutral, and so you turn it till you feel it touch. Then when it touches, you back it off 5 thousandths, and then set that as your 0. Then back off even more so that now you're just touching the very edge of the top face, and when you touch that, then you lower the table 5 thousandths, and set that as 0. Then you set it, then you pull everything back, start taking your cuts. Early on you can do heavier depth of cuts, and then when you get closer you have to go 5 thousandths and 2 thousandths and some spring passes to get a decent finish. And you just keep working until you get to that 0 mark. And that's how you get a nice touch off, and you don't get any grooves on either side, so you didn't cut too much in there or there. And if you're doing blocks, you do it at the back edge of your part, and then you flip the block. You never move the cutter, the position of the cutter. You're still going across the workpiece, of course. And then you just flip the block, and just as long as the block is the same height, it'll do the same cut. And that makes things a lot easier than touching all the different sides. Okay, so then I did that, and then actually I did it upside down, I believe. Ugh. I need one more hand. Hang on. Oh, we're gonna die. Okay. So then that, and I use 1, 2, 3 block to square it. I think upside down it didn't clear enough. And I did have parallels under here, so that I didn't have to worry about drilling all the way through. But when you do something like this feature, it ends up being really nice, because then that instantly squares it up. Then I touched here to find the center, and then I touched here and moved 100 thou, so it was on line with the edge of the workpiece. And then I had already taken measurements of the bracket and the bolt location. How I like to do bolt locations is I measure the outside diameter of the bolts from one to the other, and then subtract one diameter of the bolt, and then I divide it in two. So I went plus and minus the same amount, and that is the most accurate way that I know how to do this. That way you can do things like that. Awkward position, you can't get in there, it's not practical to do punching or anything like that, and this fits perfect. Okay, so then after that, so I went back and forth. I fit this up as it went, and it was like, oh, I could fit this, I could fit that. It's kind of how my projects go, and they end up nice, cool packages. And and these accessories are not used often, so it's not like I'm really inconveniencing myself. But the worst thing is, at my estate sale, it'll suck for somebody to buy this nice lathe for $325 and not get the accessories that go with it. Okay, so then what I did, I did this. And for me to find center, I don't use the fancy triangle shaped thing. I just run a end mill across it until I kiss it, and then I just eye up where the hole with the drill bit I'm going to use, and touch the witness mark from the end mill touching. I mean, that's nice and quick and dirty. Then what I did was, for these side holes, they're 30 degrees apart, so this is a 15-degree angle, and I put it on my flat spot, and I of course locked it into the vise. Wiggle my hand around here and did the first hole, and that's 10 millimeter by 1.5 thread. Then I flipped the block around again, and then I did the second hole. So now they're 30 degrees apart from each other, so they're nice and cute on there next to each other, not touching each other. And the little seminar I did a couple weekends ago was the basics. So we were going to tram the head, and what I did first was I tilted the head, and I did it 10 degrees. And I thought, while I'm tilting it, I'll show people how to set the head to different angles. That's what you do. You use the angles, and then I put a gauge pin, because I love gauge pins, in the quill. And I put the here, and with the head angled, then I come down and I just square it up to the angle block. It tended to be a little bit over the head of the guys that were here. They were, it was all beginner stuff, but then after that, then we showed how to tram the head, square the vise, trimmed it in both the nod and the tilt, and then did some setups, edge finding, and that type of stuff. Okay, so we're going to pause right now because I'm going to weld that tube on. And next time you see this, it's going to be permanently installed. Thanks again.